have a solid foundation and have faith in God, because I would not have built this amazing company if it wasn't for having that strong, solid relationship with God.
Yeah.
Believe in God, that he's more powerful than you. He created this whole world, this whole universe.
Yeah.
Right? And he created and he has given you power and the authority, like I said earlier, to create. But you have to have a strong source, right? And that's my faith and believing in God and knowing that he's going to do amazing things in my life, and, always having a positive perspective and being able to silence the negativity, silence the thoughts.
Welcome to the Setup for Success podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Lee. And in today's episode, I am just extremely excited, you guys, because I am interviewing a woman who I'm so inspired by. She's a dream guest, and my dream is coming true. I feel like the luckiest girl in the whole world right now because I'm interviewing a woman with a story that is so inspirational to me and to so many other women around the world. She went from being an RN to a CEO of a multi-million-dollar hair care company. And that company is Mielle Organic. So I'm so excited to be sitting down with the CEO, Mrs. Monique Rodriguez.
I'm super excited to be here. You have to talk about how we met, though.
No, I am, because I feel like it's so necessary, first of all, for my audience and a lot of people in their 20s who they see people that they admire and they're kind of nervous to talk to them and everything. So let's get into the story because I want to hear I want
such a cute story.
And I honestly want your point of view on your thoughts on how to have it. Okay, so we're gonna get into it. So I'm coming back from LA and it was early, and usually I'm very aware of my surroundings. Anytime I'm traveling, I see people sometimes that I recognize and I'm like, oh, okay, they're in passing. But I looked up and I just so happened to see you way so far. If it was anyone else and they were in my position, there's no way you could recognize that's who she was from how far you were away from me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, that's Monique. And then I did a Google search really quick. I'm like, yeah, that's her. I know for a fact that's her. So I was just my heart kind of sank a little bit because I admired you for a really long time.
Aww.
So I was really excited to just see you, but I'm like, no, let me not go up to her. I don't know, because you were far, and I'm like, that's a reach to just fly up to you.
This was in the Borden area?
Yeah.
Before,
so
okay.
Where I was a little bit away, but I could still see you. I was close enough to the gate, but not super close. So you were on the phone and everything, and I'm even just trying to feel you out a little bit. I'm like, well, she's on the phone. It's not the right time, whatever. So I let it go, and I just went back in my phone, and then it was boarding time. And then I saw you come back, and I was just like, oh my gosh, she's here again. I'm like, maybe this is a sign that I need to say something. But you were still on the phone, and you were going back and forth. So I was just like, yeah, no, I'm going to just let it go. I'm going to just admire her from a distance. I'm going to let it go. And then they called the boarding, and then you were going on my flight. You went in the lane, and it was just some first class, some crazy, I don't know what it was. I'm like, of course, she's Monique Rodriguez. Of course she's going in first. So I'm like, okay, she's on my flight. That's cool. So I went in and boarded, and I walked past you in first class. You were looking down. I saw the ring. I was like, oh my God, yep, that's her. That's my girl. And I sat in the back, and I kept thinking about it.
Yeah.
But the flight was long, so I was like, I don't know how I'm going to talk to this woman. So I let it go, and I went to bed. I literally slept the whole flight.
Yep.
And then I got up, and it was just pushing me. My spirit was just saying, you need to talk to her. You might not get this chance to see her again. So you got to do something. So I just woke up, and then immediately my thoughts just told me, write her a note. But I'm like, it's 2024. Who's writing notes in 2024?
You did.
So
and
it
worked.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'm super perfectionist. I'm like, let me write it on a scratch piece of paper, put it on the show card, because I just got done from another interview, put it on there, and I'm like, I'm going to give it to her. And I made the old man get up, and I'm in the back. You're all the way in the front. This plane was so big. I was in the very back seat.
Wow.
And the turbulence was crazy, girl. So I was just like,
I don't remember.
I gotta do what I gotta do, because we were getting there, and I was just like, I gotta do it. So I went up there, and I just was like, hi, gave it to you. And the thoughts that I had the whole way there was, yes, do it. She's gonna love it. You're ambitious. My mind was telling me yes, she's gonna love it. But that walk back to my seat, I'm like, she's going to think I'm the weirdest girl in the whole world. I'm like, she's going to think, I don't know what she's going to think. But my brain was telling me one thing, but I was just fighting it. And I'm just saying, like, no, you did good. Like, whatever comes from it, you tried. You know what I mean? Closed mouths don't get fed. So it's just like, if you don't ask, you'll never know. And literally when we landed, you hit me back because I put my Instagram on there, and I was just like, oh my God, like, she doesn't think. And then we had a bonding moment with, you know, like what I told you on the note. So I was just like, divine timing. And I just reminisce a lot about the experience because it felt like a movie to me, because I'm like, you know, this is like a really big moment. And I feel like a lot of young people can learn from it, because when you see someone like that, a lot of times your mind is telling you, don't do that. Like, no, it's not your time. Like, just let her be. Let that opportunity pass by, you know? And for me, I was just like, no, I have to do it. So it worked out perfectly, but I'm definitely interested to know, like, your perspective, and also, like, if you've ever had a moment similar to that where you're like, if I don't do it now, if I don't speak up, maybe the opportunity won't come back around. So I'm just curious to know what you thought about it.
No, I thought it was, number one, very bold of you and very ambitious. And, you know, I actually admired that. I can say when I was 21, 22, I didn't have that type of courage. I've always been, you know, kind of like reserved. Some would say maybe shy. I was a lot worse when I was in my young 20s. I've learned to like outgrow that. And so I saw something in you that I wish I would have had at that age. And that's what was very intriguing about you, and what made me like, wow, like, you know, she actually sat there and wrote a note and sent it to me. Like, you know, I think it was very courageous. And you know, I know how it feels to, you know, see someone that you admire and then you kind of get like shut down.
Yeah.
And like, I never want people to feel that way when they come in contact with me, because people tell me all the time, like, oh, you know, I was afraid to say something to you. I saw you at such and such. I didn't want to say hi. And I'm like, why do you feel that way? Like, I'm such like a nice person. I'm super down to earth. But I get why people feel that way, because when you see people that you admire and they let you down, or they're not exactly what you thought they were, it's very hurtful. And like, people like in our human nature, we don't like to deal with rejection. And, you know, people try to avoid that. So in order to avoid your feelings being hurt, it's like, well, I'm just not going to say anything. And so like, I never want people to feel that way. And so I always get upset, like, well, why you just didn't say hi? Like, you could have just said hi. And so you went beyond that, and you're like, listen, I'm going to write her a note and I'm going to shoot my shot. And I would say that not everybody is that nice, you know, to be open to say, you know, I'm going to follow you on Instagram. Yes, I'm going to do your podcast. But, you know, I believe in especially empowering the next generation. And there's basically an 18-year difference between me and you. And so I guess you're technically the next generation. And I felt that, you know, it was my duty to reach back and just, you know, help you out and do your podcast. And, you know, just to also just give you a high five for saying, like, you know, kudos to you for taking the step and being courageous to go after your dreams, because not everyone is like that. And, you know, I preach that to my daughters, because both of my daughters are going to be grown and, you know, they want to go off into their own ventures and passions. And I tell my daughter this right now, who's 18, you got to get out here. You got to network. Everything that I have in life to this day is because I have networked, and I have, you know, pushed my own self-doubts and fears aside and did it despite of being fearful, right? You know, you may have felt butterflies in your stomach. You may have been like afraid to approach me, but you did it anyway. And that's really what this journey of entrepreneurship is all about, like doing it despite of being fear. And that's really what courage is. And so that was something that I admired in you. And it was like, of course, like, and then, you know, we had the Hampton connection. I told you about my daughter. And I just thought that was just like so amazing. I was like, I have to support, you know, this young lady, because it's my duty.
Oh my God. Like, literally, I'm telling you, you've been someone, especially when I graduated, every commercial, I would see your face from my lips. Like, I literally memorized it at one point, 'cause I'm like, I see her face all the time. And even like when I was shopping, like, when I first moved, I told my mom, like, when I was getting ready to move into the dorm, I'm like, I want full Mielle products, like, for my move. So, like, I've always loved and supported you and adored you from afar, because you represent so much. So that's why I was curious to know, like, have you ever had that in your career, like a moment like that where it's like closed mouths don't get fed? Like if you don't speak up and ask, maybe something wouldn't have happened that you really needed to happen. Like, has that happened to you before?
Oh, of course. Like I said, everything that I have is because I raised my hand and I asked for help. You know, I would not have done a lot of the historic things and the headlines that you see in the media if it wasn't for me raising my hand and asking for help. Like I am the first one to say, yes, I am a CEO of a company, a multi-million-dollar company, but I don't know everything. And in order for me to know and to learn, I have to surround myself with people that know more than me in an area that I may not know much about and learn and glean from those people. Like that's how you grow. And it's all about really having a growth mindset and not a limited mindset. So yes, everything that I have is because, you know, I've raised my hand and said, can you help me with this? And to your point, closed mouths don't get fed. If no one knows about you, your business, what you're doing, and I learned this when I first started my company, as I mentioned, I was a lot more reserved than I am now. So it was a challenge for me to like get on stage to talk about my company and to talk about something that I loved and I was so passionate about. And I had to ask myself, like, you know this, like you're an expert in this. This is something that you're passionate about. This is something that you want to do, right?
Yeah.
You want people to purchase products from you. Well, if you don't talk about the products, if you don't get out there and, you know, speak about it and, you know, convince people that this is something that will really work for them, who's going to know about your brand?
That's true.
So, you know, I talk to people all the time. And even when I mentor young girls, they're like, oh, I don't want to post on social media because, you know, I don't want people in my business or, you know, I'm a very private person. Well, I am too. But there's still a way to be very vulnerable and transparent, but not be so open where you're putting all your business out there.
Yeah.
And I think I've done a great job of mastering, like still maintaining that privacy and things that I feel are sacred. And still being open with people where they feel like they know you, they trust you, and they like you. And therefore, people will do business with people who they know, like, and trust, right?
Yeah.
And again, if you don't put yourself out there, if you're getting in the way of your own self and saying, like, well, I'm not really good on camera or I'm not really good, nobody will know unless you get out there and try it. So if you're not willing to put yourself out there, you can't expect anyone else to believe in you, to trust in you, or to even invest in you if you're not willing to take that first risk.
Right. That's so true. I want to go back to your early 20 days because I know you said that was a time in your life where you were really like unsure and reserved. So what was life really like? Did you have like a time in your 20s that really defined like the woman that you are now or kind of like foreshadowed this path that you're on, or just something that made you feel like, okay, I'm lost, I don't know where to go? Like what were you like back then?
Yeah, so in my 20s, my early 20s, I was working as a registered nurse. So I started in labor and delivery at the age of 22, and which was pretty young. And I became a nurse because my mom kind of like encouraged me to go to medical field. Like when I was growing up, how I feel like Gen Z, you guys are just so open and vocal, and there's such a freedom of just like self-expression. It was not like that. You know, it was like you have to do things one traditional way. Go to school, go to college, get a degree, work a 9 to 5, plan to retire when you're 60, 70, however old, and then you enjoy life. And that's what my mom always instilled in me. It wasn't like, no, you enjoy life now, you dream big. No, it was like, this is what you need to do to survive. This is what you need to do to pay your bills. And that's the way that you're supposed to live. And in the back of my mind, I always felt like there has to be something more to life than just getting up, going to work and paying bills, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not adding up to me. I don't think that's the life that we're supposed to live. But, you know, our family, you know, came from a mode of survival. And it wasn't like, I want to thrive in life. It was, I got to do what I got to do to survive. My mom was pretty much like a single mom. I mean, my dad was present, but he wasn't really present, if that makes sense. So she did a lot of things on her own. So no fault to her, but she taught me only what she knew.
Yeah.
So as I worked as a nurse, you know, I felt that it was still a great experience, like even though it wasn't something that I was super passionate about. But I will say that my nursing career and that journey has led me to what I do today and where I am today.
Yeah.
The pivotal moment that, you know, happened to me, unfortunately, was a painful situation. I went through a tragic loss of my son in 2013 when I was 8 months pregnant, and it was a very high-risk pregnancy. And because of the pregnancy, my son passed away. So when you go through like life traumatic moments like that, for me, that was the pivot of really just defying like who Monique Rodriguez was, right?
Yeah.
Because I felt that before I started Mielle, throughout my nursing career, I was living my mom's dream. I wasn't doing nursing because it was something that I dreamt about. I was living what she told me to do. I thought that I was living a life the very traditional route and what I thought was going to equate to success.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the success. It's not success. It's not job security if you don't enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? So when that happened with my son, it allowed me to, number one, get closer with God, because God was the only spirit that got me through what I was going through at that time. No one else.
Yeah.
Not my mom, my husband. I have 2 girls, and no one I can lean on could get me through that other than, developing a closer relationship with God. And it starts there. That's the foundation. So when you have that foundation, that relationship with God, everything shifts from there. And God gave me the vision one day to go on social media. Instagram started in 2011, late 2010. It was fairly new.
Yeah.
I remember when Instagram was just for iPhone users. It wasn't for everyone. That's how old, Instagram is now. But I got on there when it was fairly new, and I quickly understood like how to market, how to engage with people, how to build community.
Yeah.
Didn't go to school for it, but it was, I guess, a natural gift that I had. And God gave me the vision to go on there, talk about hair care, and that's exactly what I did. And I developed this community really, really fast of people that were connecting with me and engaging with me over the conversation of just talking about how I style my hair, what ingredients I use, what products I use. And that's really like what kind of like set the trajectory up from the idea to even create Mielle, because I saw the opportunity and I figured out how to master it and how to use it. And I really just focused 100% on that. And, it grew into the Mielle that you see here today.
It's insane. I want to ask you, because you have 2 daughters. When did you have your first daughter? Was it
22? Yeah, I was 22. I had just graduated college, and I think she was like 6 months old.
So that's insane. Like, that's insane. Like, you had your first child at 22. How could you even see, have that spirit inside of you that you knew, like, I'm not going to continue this path that my parents are pushing. Eventually, like, I do want to be my own boss and be an entrepreneur. Like, I'm just curious to know, like, the valleys, the things that you were thinking about during the time, like trying to balance. Was it even on your mind to pursue your goals, or you were just so locked into your responsibilities, or were you still just thinking about?
So I think it went in like seasons, like ebbs and flows. So I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur or be my own boss, however you want to call it. So even before I had my daughter, before I even went to nursing school, I started selling Mary Kay, because I had someone in my family that sold Mary Kay, and, she seemed like she was doing pretty well. So I was like, maybe I'll get into Mary Kay. So that bug, that entrepreneurial bug, was always in me from like, I feel like it was there from childhood. My husband and I, we've been together since I was 16. We've known each other since I was 12 years old. So we literally grown up together. And what we would do together is we would dream. Like, we would go in like these nice neighborhoods in the Chicago area and just drive around and look at nice homes and say, wow, like, I wonder what these people do in these homes. Like, how do they live like this? So it was always a curiosity of like, we see what we want, but it's like, how do we get there? And I would always say like, well, I don't think those people work regular jobs. So we're gonna have to figure out something. So it was like, the ebbs and flow. But then when you think about like, okay, these people, they live in these nice homes. They're probably not working regular jobs, but they probably have like rich families, or they come from like money or something. So it was always like create an excuse. So then I would dream, and then I would create an excuse that would kind of like set me back. And I'll be like, okay, well, I don't come from a rich family. I don't have those type of resources. Maybe it's just not for me. Right. So, but the bug was still there. So then I branched off and started Mary Kay, and obviously that didn't go anywhere. And so when it didn't go anywhere, I would say, maybe this is not for me. I can't get it off the ground because I don't have any money. I don't know a lot of people. I'm not well connected. So, this is just not for me. So then I would go back to my being comfortable with, at that time I was working as a CNA. So then when I went to school, graduated, became a nurse, I was comfortable. You know, I thought I was doing well. I mean, I was a 22-year-old new grad making a lot of money, had my first house, bought a car. Like, I thought that I was like,
balling.
yeah, seriously. So when I thought I was balling, I'm like, okay, well, this is good. I'm comfortable. Like, you know, I'm going to continue on my trajectory of being a nurse and climb the ladder. My goal was to become a nurse practitioner. And, you know, then I would get bored and I'll say, I'm going to try this entrepreneur thing again. So then I went into like, selling, it was another direct sales company. I can't remember what it was, but total direct sales. I did Mary Kay, Scentsy Candles, Avon. I did a cable company called ACN.
These were all your
These
first
were
jobs.
all, yes, like my venture into like trying to be an entrepreneur, but not really like understanding like, you know, the magnitude, because those direct sale companies, they'll sell you on a dream.
You wanted the pink car, right?
Yeah, I wanted the pink car. I wanted to be the VP of sales or whatever. I wanted to, you know, go to those conferences and share my story of how, you know, I have all of these salespeople under me and, you know, how I became this multi-million. Like, they sell you on that you will be a millionaire overnight. And I was young. So, I mean, I didn't really know or understand, like, yeah, no, that's not real. You don't believe it.
Right.
But I did it anyway. But that was my way of just trying to find a way out of nursing, even though I didn't realize that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
But it was just me yearning for that satisfaction of having my own and building my own business, but wasn't technically going about it the right way, right?
Right.
So, you know, as I mentioned, like, it just continued to go like that throughout my nursing career, because I would start something, stop it, go back to nursing, or, you know, focus back on nursing, go back to having a big idea and then going back to nursing, right?
Yeah.
So it was like in an ebb and flow. So when I graduated and I had my daughter, I was so focused on like just, you know, being a good mom, you know, my nursing career, because I felt that I was balling at that time. So I was comfortable. So for the first couple of years, like having her, it was totally just focused on, you know, my nursing career. And then I decided to go back to school. So it went from, you know, the entrepreneurial, then, you know, focus on my career. And then now how do I further my career and go back to school? So I went back to school twice.
Wow.
To get my master's in nursing. And every time I went back to school, so the first time I went back to school, I got pregnant with my second daughter. She was born prematurely and she was in a hospital. So of course, when she was in the hospital, I wasn't focused on school. I'm like, forget that. I'm going to focus on my daughter. Dropped out. Then 3 years later, that's when I got pregnant with my son. I had just entered into the nursing program for my master's. Of course, when that happened, I got pregnant. And then, of course, the unimaginable happened. And then I, of course, dropped out of school. And I just felt that at that time, that was God's way of trying to redirect me, but I wasn't paying attention. So that redirection, the second time that I went back to school, and when I went through that with my son, I was like, I'm not going back to this nursing thing, because as you can imagine, going through that, you know, not being happy and then going back to a job that you really don't like. Yeah. So I just had to like really just focus on, how do I focus on making Monique happy and not making everyone else around me and my family happy? And that's what I did. And that's why I started the company.
So at this point, you're in your 30s now?
So I started the company when I was 30.
Wow. So your whole 20s was this just this roller coaster of like all these events. And I like time stamping it for people. So our generation understands, because a lot of us think like in our 20s, we should be millionaires by now. We should be having all these things because we see it. So I wanted you to break this down for everybody to see like how your journey flowed throughout your entire 20s and all the life events that happened. And I was curious about your jobs, because I didn't know you were doing Mary Kay and Avon. You did the things. You did all those things.
Yeah, and that's a really great question. And no one's like really ever asked me that to like break it down. Yeah. But that is so true, because like I even tell young kids, you're not a kid, but young adults, like, you don't have to have it figured out. And you're 20, like kids, and you know, the question of when you're in high school, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to go to college for? And I felt like we had to have something, an answer to like, oh, I'm going to college to be a nurse, you know, or I'm going to college to be a dentist or a doctor or whatever. You had to have an answer. And I tell kids, like, when they say, well, I'm not sure, that's okay. I think it's quite fine that you don't know yet.
Yeah.
You're going to go to college, you're going to meet people, you're going to be exposed, and you're going to figure out like what fits you.
Yeah.
I tell my daughter this, if you don't know what you want to do that is totally, there is no rush. Figure out who you are, figure out what you're passionate about. And I feel, just from my own experience, I think the prime time is like when you turn 30.
Really?
I think that's the prime time. That's like when you really discover like who you are and you really come into your own. Your 20s, you're really just trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
And that was my goal. I wanted to start my company at 30, and I set out this goal like as I started to become more exposed of like the potential and the opportunities that I can have for Mielle. I'm like, started the company when I was 30. I want to build it, scale it, and get it acquired by the time I turn 40. And I was able to do that. I just turned 40 last October.
Wow.
So if
And
you don't
look
know,
good.
thank you.
Good.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
You look
If you
good.
don't know what you want to do, it is fine.
Yeah. No, and that's why I'm so glad that you're talking about this. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about it, because you are an inspiration to so many people. And I think you are a blueprint for a lot of young women, especially like in the beauty space, but just in the entrepreneur space in general. So it's good for us to understand, like, it's okay that your whole 20s is just about the discovery.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I'm also interested to know about your morning routine, because I feel like just to be a successful person and step into that person of, if you want to be a millionaire, if you want to be wealthy or just be financially free, I'm curious to know about like what your routine looks like, because I've been on your page. I know you do your IG lives in the morning and you work out, which I love a lot. So I want to know what your routine is like, and what do you think is a productive morning routine for someone who is aspiring to be successful or maybe become a millionaire? Like what do you think that looks like?
Yeah. So I think first is you have to establish what type of person are you? Are you a morning person or are you a nighttime person? Because I feel that when you identify like what works best for you, you can be more productive in, you know, your roles when you understand what works best for me. So I know in the morning I'm more productive. I feel like my brain is like on 1,000 in the morning. So I'm going to plan like all of the hard things that I feel like I have to do in the morning when my brain is like ready to go.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, you can ask my husband this. I go to sleep on all movies. If we watch any movies after 7, I'm asleep by the time
7. Monique, that's crazy.
I'm tired. Like my brain literally starts shutting. It's tired.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm a morning person, but not too early of a morning person. So I start my day at like 5:45. Is that too early?
That's early.
That's early? I didn't think it was too early.
That is early.
I know people that start at 5, and I tried the 5 a.m. thing, and it's so I like how I feel when I do 5 a.m. But so if I get up at 5 a.m., I'm asleep by 8.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I switched it to like 5:45, which I didn't feel like it was too early. But so I like to get up before everyone in the house gets up. And of course, I pray. I read my Bible. I have like on my phone the Bible app, so I read the scripture of the day. I go through that. And then I have a devotional that I read. And then I also try to like read a couple of pages in like the actual Bible. So like, you know, where I can touch and feel and underline and write notes. Some days I will journal. And journaling is like a brain dump for me. So like if I have a lot on my mind, I'll like just dump it out on my journal. Right. And journaling is also good for like writing the vision and making it plain. So a lot of my goals and things that I have achieved, I have all written it down. So, but the journaling is not like consistent for me. I have to do it when I move to do it, or when like this, because I feel like when the Spirit leads me to write something down, that's God speaking to me, and I just got to get my thoughts out and then allow Him to like give me the answers that I'm looking for, right? Yeah. So just depending on like that, I may journal. And then after that, I have to get my daughter up because I have to take her to school. I take my dogs out.
Oh, you have dogs?
I have 2 dogs. Yeah,
Oh
I have
my
a
gosh.
Yorkie and a mini doodle.
Oh.
They go outside, and then I'm off to taking her to school. Obviously, I shower, wash my face, and do all that, my hygiene.
Right, make that clear so everyone won't be like, Monique doesn't
I'm not
shower.
just rolling out of bed.
Yeah.
So I do all my hygiene stuff, and then I'm taking her to school. And then once I take her to school, I come home and then I work out.
Yeah.
So I don't like to like work out when I first wake up because I feel like my brain has to get like acclimated to like the day and like, you
Yeah,
know,
what's
like
going on?
what I'm doing, because I've had days where I'm like, I'm gonna get up at 5 a.m. and I'm gonna go work out. And my brain's like, like I need time to like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you got to ease into that. So
Yeah.
I take her to school like after I feel like I've accomplished a lot, and then I'll work out. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of how like I start my mornings. And then I go to like, you know, shower and get to work and like check my emails and stuff.
Yeah, that's really good. But I'm glad that you said it that way, because I feel like a lot of people are sold on what people say is a successful routine. Like, I have to get up early. If I don't get up early, then my day is gone, or I'm not going to be a success. But at night, you said you shut down. Like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah. So you just got to figure out like, you know, what works best, because yeah, some people are like, I'm not a morning person. Okay, well, get a good nighttime routine.
Yeah.
Whatever's productive for you.
Yeah, that's good. I want to ask you about some business things, because I'm glad that we talked about like the story and the journey of Mielle and that impact that pushed you to create it. But I want some advice, some finance advice. What's the best piece of financial advice that you've ever received?
The best piece of financial advice that I've ever received is to raise money when you don't need money.
Break that down
And
for us.
the reason why is because we went through a period of where we tried to raise funds when we needed it, because we were not a profitable company back in like 2018. So profitability is very, very important. And then we were trying to raise, and we got a lot of no's. No one was trying to invest in us. No one was even trying to hear us, even though the company on the outside was growing exceptionally well. We had great momentum, but people are like, no, you guys are in debt. We're not investing in that. We were able to climb ourselves out of that debt and became profitable. And then once we became profitable and we were like experiencing like 4x growth, profitability was like through the roof.
Yeah.
And now everyone was chomping at the bits, trying to be a part of like Mielle and wanting to invest in us. And so the CFO that we had, which is a chief financial officer, that we had on board when we were trying to raise, he saw the struggles that we were going. And that was something he said, you know, like, the best time to raise money is when you don't need it. And that was like advice that just stuck with me and just always remained in the back of my head, because I know both sides. So I know how it is to try to raise when you need it.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, trying to raise money when you don't need it, it's like you have so much leverage. You can sit down and negotiate terms and contracts on your behalf.
Yeah.
And it's also beneficial for you to create wealth, because now you don't need that money to go to the business. When people invest in you, that can go to you personally.
Yeah.
Because the company is healthy, you don't need it. And so like to see how like investors were, you know, just basically fighting to, you know, give us money now, because it's like, you know, they see the opportunity, they see the potential of like Mielle is going to, you know, create a very super successful exit at some point.
Yeah.
And we want to be a part of it so we can get a major return. So it was just very interesting to see both dynamics of just like how people treated us when we needed it and how people treated us when we didn't need it and they wanted to be a part of something that we created. So that was like the best piece of advice. And, you know, it's also good to like not dilute yourself very early on when you're starting a business, because if you have diluted yourself to the point where like now, you know, it's time to take on private equity or partner with strategics, when you have those conversations, when you're sitting at the table to negotiate, you have no leverage because you have pretty much not a lot of ownership in the company, right?
Yeah.
If you give away so much of your percentage early on, you may come towards the end, let's say the 10-year mark, when it's time to talk with private equity companies or strategics, and you may only own 10%. Yes, it's great to own 10% of something that's valuable, but you really don't have a say-so. So I know that some businesses can't help it. So it's, you got to understand like the dynamics of your business. Some businesses have to take on investment early on. So if you have to, I mean, that's totally understandable, but know that if you can bootstrap for as long as you can, try to do that. Because when it is time to have these negotiation conversations and you want to partner with strategics or private equity, you have that leverage to dictate the terms on your behalf.
Yeah.
And it's more of a favorable outcome as far financially as well too. So the dynamics are different, but that's just been my story and my experience. So I can only just speak from like what I've experienced on my end.
Yeah. What's the worst piece of financial advice you ever received?
Ooh, the worst piece of financial advice I've ever received.
I know it's something. Think on it though, because
The worst piece of financial advice. I would say like, okay, so we were in negotiations with they were not necessarily a private equity. They were like a friends and family office that were getting ready to invest in us.
yeah.
And they thought it was a great idea to invest in us and basically take 40% of our company and only give us $2 million. And they thought that was just like a great deal. And it was like the worst deal ever.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that, they ended up backing out, but it was like a favor for us. It was like God closed that door and we did not try to crack it either because we knew that was a terrible deal. But they thought it was like an amazing deal. So that's like the worst, like trying to come in, take advantage of the situation and, say, I'm gonna give you, first of all, the company was valued way more than, them taking 40% of our company and only giving us $2 million. The company has so much upside potential. So I would say that was probably like the worst type of like, business deal or advice because they thought it was great.
And they were really trying to convince you that it was like a great deal.
It was a great deal.
That's insane. I want to ask you this though, because I feel like that's so unfair how you were saying that you guys were in debt, but they were making it seem like you guys were just out of the picture. Why is that? Why do you think that they were making you guys feel that way, even though you knew like there was growth and a lot of upside potential, but they were making you feel like that?
Because I think that like with some investors, I won't say all, they see opportunity. So they see the upside, but they also see that, there's opportunity to possibly take advantage because they know that you need them more than they need you. So I think it was just a matter of like, okay, we know that there's potential in this brand, but you guys need us more than we need you. And that's like a feeling because I've experienced like you don't want to be in that type of situation.
Yeah.
So I think it was just more so like, I'm going to just take advantage of this situation.
Yeah, that's sick. I hate that. But I want to ask you a little roadmap question on, because you've become this millionaire, it's taking you time, but maybe someone who wants advice to, they're really ready to become financially free and they're just starting, or maybe they've graduated or they're trying to, work towards their savings goals and just, that trajectory of hopefully becoming a millionaire by their 30s or whatever their goal is. What do you think your advice would be for someone who's on the road to trying to become a millionaire and they just want financial freedom in their future?
Yeah. So I would say number one is patience. I think that that's so important because in the era of social media, like we live, I feel like in this merge of like generations. All the generations are kind of like merged together. So, you may see 40-year-olds that really don't look 40. We look like we're like 30s or 20s. Some 40-year-olds. I know I look like I'm 20.
Yeah, period.
But you see like, and you're like, oh, I want to live like that, or I want to, have Birkin bag. I want to do this, but you haven't worked to establish that. You haven't worked to get there. Like it took time to get to that space.
Yeah.
So like, don't compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 300, and know that you have to be patient in order to get there, right?
Yeah.
And go about things the right way. Like you see what's going on. You have so many girls that are so desperate for a certain lifestyle that they're willing to do whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. Like work hard, have integrity, be honest, like network with people, be patient, have a dream, always dream big, and just put the work behind it. And eventually it will pay off, but you have to be patient and you have to be willing to sacrifice and say, you know what? Girls, I'm not going to be able to go out with you guys this Friday, or y'all going shopping. I'm not going to be able to go shopping this weekend because I got to focus on my studies, or I got to focus on, saving my money.
Yeah.
Sacrifice certain things, and trust me, you will be able to get those things when the time comes. Like I remember being in my 20s and of course I wanted the designer bags and, designer clothes and stuff.
Yeah.
And, we would like my mom would buy certain things, but obviously she couldn't afford a lot of things. She
Yeah.
bought enough to like keep me satisfied. And then once I started working, I would buy like little things, but it wasn't like to the magnitude, right? But I always told my friends, like, I'll be able to buy that stuff when I can recoup that money in like 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
And if I can't recoup it in 2.5 seconds, then I don't need it. And then I'll just work until I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
Like people don't want to put the work behind it and they don't want to be patient. They think that we have to have it now. We live in a microwave society. It took me 10 years to build and to like, do what I have done. Like just be patient.
Yeah.
And trust me, that's why I told you earlier, keep doing what you're doing because it's going to pay off. You just got to keep having that tenacity, that persistence, because, it's all about you have to be willing to sacrifice a couple of years to live the life that your young self will thank you for today. All that stuff is going to be there. The parties, the bags, the shoes, everything. It's not going nowhere. It's Louis Vuitton they're going to probably be in business for a long time. They're going to always be there. Don't get caught up in like living with the customs of this world until you are able to afford. It's nothing wrong with liking nice things. I like nice things, but I'm not willing to like, break somebody's neck or do something illegal to get those nice things.
Sure.
Like it'll be there.
Yeah. No, that's such great advice. When you shop luxury now, are you strategic about the pieces that you wear? Because you know how some pieces are like when you buy it, even if you did want to resell it, it's like something anybody could get. Like, are you particular now with your luxury piece, or you just get what you like?
I just get what I like. Yeah. And yeah, I have no like rhyme or reason. I just buy what I like, even if it's not like something luxury. If I like it, I'm just gonna buy it. Yeah,
that's good. I feel like you're the perfect person to ask this to because you built Mielle on social media, and I know social media has definitely changed from when you first started. But I feel like you have great advice about this. So I want to ask you about how did you use social media as a platform for you, but not let it use you? Because I feel like a lot of people, they get on social media and they see like people's numbers are growing, their reels are doing numbers, and theirs is not reaching right now. Like that's the thing with us. So how are you using social media as a tool and not letting it use you, or getting so fixated on my growth isn't happening fast enough? Or were you thinking like that when you were building it?
I've always had like tunnel vision, and I've always like remained focused on like my goal and what I'm trying to achieve. I think when you get to the point of like looking at other people, you can become so obsessed, and subconsciously you can start to mimic what you see other people doing. Not because you're intentionally trying to do it, but because your brain, you're so focused on that, we just kind of like innately start to like adapt to
that person,
what we really focus on.
Yeah.
And so I always knew like if I focus on that, like I don't want to be her. I want to be myself, and I want to be authentic because I want to attract the authentic audience. And I knew that going into social media, number one, Instagram is not real. It's like one big old lie. It should be called Insta Lie.
Insta Lie.
Yeah, that's what it should be called. And you have to be smart enough to just really understand that social media, that's exactly what it is.
It's not real. Yeah.
It's not real. And all you can do is control who you are and control your authenticity, and try to put as much content out there that's real and that you like and that you feel very passionate about. Yeah. And that's really what I did. And even like now, I post content that I like. Like I don't post content because I feel pressured to, post because such and such posted this and they're getting a lot of likes. If I don't like that, I'm not going to post it. So I really just post what I like, what's on my heart. And I feel that when you do things from a very genuine, authentic place, you're going to attract the right type of people that follow you and that's going to support you.
Yeah.
When you do things from a more like superficial place, you're going to attract that superficial audience.
Yeah.
And when things hit the fan, that superficial audience is not going to be there to have your back. They're going to be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But people that are genuinely connected to you because they know your character, when things hit the fan, they're still going to support you because they feel like they know you and that you've always been the same genuine, authentic person. And people can tell you like I'm the same person on social media, off social media. Like who you say you've admired from afar, what you've seen on social media, I'm the same. It's too hard to be like fake.
Yeah.
Like it's too hard to try to put on this persona. So I don't like to work hard if I don't have to.
Yeah.
So you can't beat someone that's being real. And I think that as long as I continue to be my true authentic self and be real, like I don't care what anybody else is doing, because I know that God has assigned specific people to my path and my destiny who he wants to hear my message. And that's what I choose to focus on. So you can't get caught up in like, this person is getting more likes, and look what they're doing to get more likes, right? You don't know the back end story. And yes, you still have to be consistent. Like, my daughter, she's building her platform, and I tell her all the time, like, just stay consistent. You may get 0 views on your live, but the next day you may get 10. The next day you may get 15. You're not going to know if you stop and you give up. So just stay consistent and stay real, and the audience will eventually come.
How do you handle when you're not feeling inspiration or creativity? Do you get those moments where you're just not feeling inspired? Because I feel like a lot of people run into this creative burnout where they put so much effort into the content and then they start overthinking, like, well, what else do I put out? Or now I'm tired. I've been doing so much. I've been consistent, but they start falling short. How did you ever deal with like burnout with creativity or just posting your content?
Yeah, you got to take breaks.
Yeah.
You got to take breaks, and you have to be able to draw energy from whatever it is that you feel you can draw energy from. For me, it was like sun and going outside and just being still, being at one with nature. It's like I would have to take those breaks to like really take the time to listen to God. Yeah. Because I noticed that when I start to feel overwhelmed or when I start to feel burnout, I need to take a break. And that's when God will speak to me, and he'll give me new ideas and new visions and new creativity, new creations, right? And I came across this post one day that says, like God created us, right? We're co-creators with God. He created us in his image. So if he's the ultimate creator and he created us in his image, what makes you think that we're not creators? We have the power to create. But when you come to that creative block, it's because you're allowing other distractions to get in your way. And so now you need to spend time with the creator.
Oh, come on, Monique.
So he can give you more ideas to create. So that's kind of like what I do and what works for me. And, I think
that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was so good. That was such a word. I want to ask you about your milestone moments, because you've had a lot. I was dying when I saw you with Beyonce, and I was just like, that is such a like younger self moment. I don't know if like, I'm sure you've been a fan of her. Like,
I grew up watching Destiny's Child and
So I really want to dig into like, you've had a lot of major moments in your life, but like, what are some that maybe like your younger self wouldn't even believe has happened to you?
My younger self would not believe that Mielle has like everything. Like you couldn't have told me like in my younger days that like this is the life that I would be living. Like I would like, okay, how that's gonna happen. So I mean, I've had so many major moments from so granted, I've met Beyonce like three or four times.
Really?
Yeah. So that wasn't my first time. So yeah, like that was.
How is she? I'm sorry, I have to ask you how
she's really nice. She's super nice, super down to earth, super humble. Like I think that even how she is on social media, I think is how she is in person. Like you can tell she's very reserved, but she's super humble.
Have you talked hair? Like I know because she's put out Cecred. What was that conversation like?
Yeah, I mean she's super excited about like her journey and starting and launching this brand. Actually, her and her mom are doing it together.
Oh yeah.
So it's like something very sacred, for them because her mom used to work in a hair salon, and I think Beyonce and the girls from Destiny's Child will like sweep up the hair and sing in the salon. So it's a very special, like meaningful, business venture between them two. So I'm super excited for them and, wish them nothing but super success on that. But yeah, they're such a great people.
That is so cool. I didn't know that you met her because I've only seen like your few posts. I don't think have you posted every single?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So, every time I've been around her, like I posted. So I've met her at her mom. Her mom does this gala. I don't know if it's like every year.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That was so cool. You guys got the earrings.
Yes, I got the earrings.
Do you wear them?
No, they're like I keep them as like a keepsake. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to wear them. I just want to like have them in the box and just like look at them.
Beyonce's earrings.
Yeah.
Do you put them like on your vanity or?
No, they're literally in like a box, like in a glass. Like when you go in a jewelry store, we had a jewelry store glass box made. And it has like a little light that shines on it. And then we have our picture there. So yeah,
that's insane.
It's special. I don't wear them. And people like act like, why you don't wear this? I don't need, I just want to admire them.
It's a museum.
Yeah.
It's a museum.
Yeah.
No, that's insane. I love that.
Piece.
No, you've had a lot of moments. I don't think, but that's so funny though. Cause how would your younger self know you're going to be a multimillionaire and have Mielle? And there's no way.
No way.
I want to wrap, cause I always wrap the show with 4 tips for success for the next generation. So what would your 4 be for someone who's in their early 20s and they need, it doesn't have to be career, it could be life advice, or it could just be, it could be anything you want, like 4 tips for them.
So one, I would say practice being disciplined, because I think you asked earlier, like what keeps you motivated or what happens when you come to like a creative block.
Yeah.
The discipline is going to allow you the freedom and the flexibility to live the life that you want to live.
Yeah.
Because every day you're not going to be motivated. So you have to have discipline to say, I got to wake up. No, I get to wake up. Not I get to wake up.
Yeah.
I get to go work out. I get to focus on my business. Right? I get to go to the office or wherever, or go to Starbucks if you're just starting and you need an office space and Starbucks is your office space. I get to do that. It's like changing your perspective and your language, that you get to have these opportunities to focus on your business because your discipline has set you up with a routine when motivation does not pick you up.
I want to ask you this really quick before you get the rest of the tips. Do you think mindset's more important or skill set?
A mindset.
Because you have a strong mindset, like the way you view things. I just wanted to know like your perspective on that.
Yeah, skills can always be taught. Your mind is, I say you either have it or you don't. And that was gonna be like my next tip of advice is like, you know, have a solid foundation and have faith in God. You know, because I would not have built this amazing company if it wasn't for having that strong, solid relationship with God.
Yeah.
You know, believe in God, that he's more powerful than you. Like, he created this whole world, this whole universe.
Yeah.
Right? And he created and he has given you power and the authority, like I said earlier, to create. But you have to have a strong source, right? And that's my faith and believing in God and knowing that he's going to do amazing things in my life, and, you know, always having a positive perspective and being able to like silence the negativity, silence the thoughts, right?
Yeah.
So that would be my second thing, is to, you know, have a strong faith in God and a strong prayer life. Like, you really want to know what's my secret to success? It's prayer. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And the reason why I have such a strong mindset is prayer, because I stay in my word. My word allows me to have a strong mindset. And the third thing I would say is, we talked about this earlier too, like not comparing yourself to other people and other people's journey, because everyone's journey is different. You know, God placed you on this earth and he gave you this journey for a reason. Embrace it. Embrace the process, because in order to have the promise, it's on the other side of going through the process. So don't be afraid to enter into the process. It's not going to be a pretty process.
Yeah.
It's going to sometimes be ugly. You may have little pretty moments, but most of the time it's probably going to be an ugly process.
Yeah.
But it's all a part of the journey. And then the fourth thing I would say is to have a spirit of like resilience, because you will get knocked down.
A lot.
Yeah. But you got to get back up.
Yeah.
And you have to keep going. And you have to be bold. You have to be courageous. And you had to silence those thoughts that told you like, no, don't go up to her. Don't walk up to her. Tell that voice, that girl in the back of you, girl, shut up. Like, who are you talking to? Like, you're not going to tell me. Like, You're not going to try to keep me from my dreams. Like,
Yes.
shut up those voices because you will get them. You will get them. But you got to have like the resilience, the tenacity to just keep going, to go after it despite what the naysayers say, despite what your voices say, because you will have haters. You will have haters, but you will have naysayers, but your haters are just confused fans. They really like you. They just don't know how to express their likes and their loves for you.
Yeah.
So don't focus on them either.
Oh, these are so good. You're the best. I swear, like meeting you in person and like, we didn't even talk. Like I'm telling you, I gave you the note. We didn't even say anything, but it's like the energy exchange. It just felt like you're amazing.
Oh,
but
thank you. And so are you.
Thank you.
You
Thank
are.
you so much.
Like you are. Listen, to be so young, like I'm just very impressed with you. Like,
I receive it.
Yes, I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Oh my gosh. Like, and Mielle's about to celebrate 10 years.
Yes, May 23rd. Yep.
What? Like, even my best friend, like, he was telling me, like, we were talking about, you know, like, before the interview and stuff, and he was just like, I feel like Mielle just came on the scene. I'm like, no.
See what I mean? Like they think I'm an overnight success,
know.
but no, no, exactly.
God. Do you know what, like, the plans are for 10 years? Can you spill anything, or you have something?
Oh, I can't. It's gonna be so excited. I'm like, my team did such a great job putting everything together. So I would just say follow us. Stay tuned because it's going to be big.
I need an invite, girl. Whatever's going on, I'm there.
I got you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Guys, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're the best.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Yay.